It's the West Tigers podcast, post-match edition. Unfortunately, a post-loss edition of the West Tigers podcast. Uh, 34 points to 28 being the final wash-up against the Cowboys at a very, very big, very packed Leichhardt Oval on Sunday afternoon. And for this podcast, we have Zach, we have Nick, and we have Jordan. And we're going to talk to Jordan about what are we going to talk to him about? We're going to talk to him about three in a row in a moment, but let's start off with tradition. One word, Zach, for the performance, the afternoon you were there at Leichhardt. What do you got for us?
Uh, for this segment, I'll keep it to one word because I am newly minted and it'd be unfair to not. Percent is my word.
Percent.
Percentage. We are a matter of a percent or two away in so many areas. And sorry if I stole your thunder. You blokes mentioned it pre-show, but that's where I was headed. You know, we do so many things right in so many ways, and there is just a little bit of polish here, a little bit of improvement there, and they're infinitesimally small amounts, but it's adding up to losing big moments in certain games. So, yeah, I think the gap is far narrower than what it might seem. Just a percentage point or two.
And that's a reflection about what we spoke about, I think, last week and the week before, which is that the roster is not a million miles away from where we need it to be. But, it's down to a couple of players. So, yeah, along those same lines, Zach, I like it. What have you got for us, Nick?
Probably just deflating job. So I think probably like most of us, we had our heads up in the clouds a bit, towards the back end of that game after those two quick tries, and bloody Andrew Voss was talking about all the mathematical chances
Mm.
for West Tigers to make the finals, and before you know it, Latu knocks that ball on, and then bang, 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 Cowboys just put us out of our misery. So very sad way to end that game and likely end our season.
Yeah, it definitely was a little dose of reality. And, we got out to that 12-point lead. Hey, Jordan, first time you and I've been on the pod together. What have you got for us in terms of one word, please?
Well, I guess I can't go past cursed. Um, Obviously, as Gary has constantly reminded me, and he reminded me yesterday at the game,
Mm.
we that curse is still not broken, and it's forever hanging around my head, and I've got my own little cloud with rain just follow me about until we kind of break that curse, I guess.
Yeah, three in a row. It doesn't seem that hard. Like for most other teams or for a lot of other teams, three in a row is kind of like just, they can do that in first gear. But for the West Tigers, it seems to be the impossible bridge to get across.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's from 15 attempts now.
That is exactly right. And that is one of
Goodness.
my words, Zach, 15. So 15 times we've now been to two straight wins and haven't been able to get the third. I've also got 15 in terms of 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes of, the wheels fell off and rolled down the street. And we conceded three tries and everything went from a party to a funeral. And I've got 14 as well. So sort of numerical one words, 14 years now without finals. And I'll save my last one for a moment because Nick wants to say something. Hello, Nick.
Sorry, Joel, but I don't really care about all of the ones before Jordan made his prophecy. I only blame Jordan
Yeah, for the last two. Yeah.
and the rest. I don't know why it's just Jordan's fault.
Yeah.
I'll cop it. I might as well.
And my last one word is something that always has me worried, and that is Todd Payton. Because whenever we play a Todd Payton coach team, seems to turn up with a game plan that troubles the West Tigers. Zach, I mean, you were out there, but I watched it at home. It was line speed, line speed, line speed, and quick play the balls. I mean, they were just so quick up off the ground. You could sort of see that they do it every time. The Cowboys, it was the Warriors before them when Peyton coached there. He always seems to show up, and he's well and truly got the rub of the green on us.
I think it's pretty plain to see that how do you beat the West Tigers? You show up with intensity,
Yeah.
both with and without the ball, and that plays into all the elements you're talking about. The Cowboys were very, very good. I got to admit, being there live, watching the game back, they were good. They were as complete as what they've been for quite a long time. And then prior to last week, they were out of form. They definitely turned up, and I think we came out of the gates flat. I mean, 10-0 early is pretty obvious around that. But the Cowboys were up for it, and a lot of stuff didn't go our way. But yeah, look, in regards to Toddy Payton, I think that yeah, you get your sides up against us, and we're seeing elements of what this side's made of, and we had more adversity yesterday as well. But yeah, interesting.
Nick, is there something in the Cowboys race to that 10-point lead? Is there something in that we fought back, whereas maybe if we're looking for differences between the old West Tigers and this West Tigers team, is that at 10-0, it might have ended up 18, 22, whereas we did wrestle our way back into the game and into the lead.
That's definitely a trend I think we've improved on. So, yeah, like you said, that's definitely something, or the way that games have gone over the last few seasons. I think we've done that a few times recently. We've let the first try in pretty early the last couple of games, but we've shown a lot of resilience and strength to stay in the fight and claw, for a better word, claw our way back into the game. So, look, we're definitely heading in the right direction. We've definitely got a much stronger team across the park. Our back line is just about there. I think, with exception of Mr. Rocks and Diamonds, Brent Naden yesterday, I think if we could probably just strengthen up that other centre position, hopefully with a bit of recruiting and forward pack, we're going places next season. I can really feel it. Yeah, it's just a shame it panned out that way it did yesterday. We should have won. It's another game that we should have won.
Hmm. We don't get those fairy tales, Nick.
No, not
Ever.
anymore. Not for 20 years.
I tell you what, in terms of centres, and I know it's on the right, but Benji Marshall is going to have to do really well to avoid picking Hamasi before the end of the year. Toa's out; he's not coming back. That AC will be busted. And Naden, pretty costly performance, to be perfectly honest. And now that finals are out of the race, what do we have got? What have we got to lose?
Yeah.
I don't know that Canberra is the best time, but surely we start to have that conversation once again.
Mm. Jordan, the right edge of the West Tigers, it has been the troublesome edge all year. In fact, it was the edge that we spoke about all over the offseason, what it's going to look like, how's it going to work. The left edge looks sensational in defence and attack, but that right edge remains a work in progress. And no doubt the loss of Toa, or the injury that Toa's had later in this part of the year, has been a big factor in our struggles at times.
Definitely. Naden is very much, as Nick said, rocks and diamonds. And I agree with Zach about Macassini that I wouldn't be throwing him in against Canberra. I don't think that's the best thing to do. If anything, with the season being over, if you want to give the kid a taste so he goes into pre-season with a bit of skip in his step, I'd throw him in against the Titans. We can travel up there. We can hopefully finish the season on a high. He gets a shot. He gets a taste of it. Comes into pre-season ready to just rip in. In saying that, teams haven't really gone around us as much this year. We have been in the fight in a lot of games, bar one of the Brisbane and the Melbourne games. But we are definitely looking dangerous with Taylor out wide. Like he hurt them yesterday.
Yeah.
We probably weren't as close in that game if it wasn't for him being on the field. So he's strong, he's powerful, he knows the right line to run. And even in defence, like there were a couple of times he jammed out and he did and sort of kind of looked twice about who was there about to hit him.
Yeah. No, he's a superstar. We've got to keep him at all costs. What about the West Tigers and big event games, Zach? It was a big game at Leichhardt. It was sort of the celebration of, in a way, the celebration of the West Tigers, quote unquote, turning the corner of sort of this new age of the team finding some form. With what have we won, 3 out of our last 4 or something like that? Big expectations. Luai's big 150 games. The big announcement, of course, nobody knew that was coming, but that came on the day. And one other factor, which is escaping me in regards to that game yesterday, but anyway, sometimes we struggle with the big events, don't we? We turn up, and for some reason, because if we maybe didn't start the game flat, we might have ended up winning that game. I don't know what that is. If it's psychological, it must be.
Has to be, and it's that concept is as woven into our DNA as Benji Marshall's flick pass in 05. Like dead set. I rattled off a list of them several weeks back. when I was talking about something similar. You can go back to when Robbie Farah's mother passed away, the
Yeah.
Tommy Raudonikis game. Um, you know, the game against Cronulla at Leichhardt once again to make it into the finals and break the then drought that we had at that time. Countless examples, and for me, one of the biggest turning points for this club will be when we can win those emotional matches.
Yeah.
And I felt that we didn't do it against Parramatta earlier in the year with the Galvin stuff in the background. I
Yep.
thought the Bulldogs game was the first instance for me personally I'd seen us harness the emotion for the better.
Mm.
And it had to be this one too though. And again, I go back to percentages. I think that we can. We've shown that we can overcome adversity in those situations and in those types of games where we do come out flat. We're not the teams of old, like the Tommy Raudonikis game, where we just get absolutely walked off the field. We should have won that game in the end. And so we are so close in that element too, in terms of getting on top of those big moment games. But that is going to be, I think, a giant step for this side going forward.
Mm. The other big aspect, of course, it was the 20-year reunion and celebration of the 2005 grand final.
Yeah.
It was right there on the tip of my tongue, but couldn't quite get there. But let's change tack on that. I want to look at all the one-word contributions from the West Tigers podcast forum, but I'm going to just throw something in. Is it time to sort of, because if you remember in 2006, Tim Sheens wouldn't have any pictures of the grand final winning side, the celebrations and that in the locker rooms. Is it time that we kind of move on from that? And it's a wonderful thing that happened to the club, Nick. It's something that, I probably thought I'd never going to see a Tigers team win a grand final. But in a way, is it kind of like a gilded chalice or a stone around our neck in a way? Like, do we need to kind of move ahead from it in a way?
In a way, yes. I mean, it's obviously the one and only premiership the club's won since the merger. So, it's obviously something we're never going to forget. We always need to celebrate it. So I know that when you walk into Concord COE, the big photos up there on the wall, with the premiership team and everything. And it's something that we should never ever forget. Oh, we never will forget it. But you know what? When we ran out yesterday in that 2005 strip, I loved seeing that. It did bring back a lot of memories, but it
Yeah.
also looked really sharp.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that shade of orange. Nice to see the patterns again, even with the new branding with pepper money on the front, look really good. Look, it's always nice to have that little link back to the past, and it's a year that we'll always hold very, very special to each and every one of our hearts. But from a point of looking back onto that game 20 years ago, maybe it is a time to just park it a little bit. Like we're not going to celebrate 21 years next year and 22 the year after. So I think it's a time now that we move ahead. And maybe, who knows, maybe it's a monkey off our back. Maybe 21 years is the year that we
Yeah.
start playing finals again.
I can see that as a nod to '05 for one of the last times as we're going into what seems like a clearly new era. I can envision looking back on it, and this is just waxing lyrical, but I can envision looking back on the end of this season and then that game as the honorary 20 years and going, that was the moment that we saw the side come out of it into this new era that we're all hoping is beginning now with this core of the side finally being settled.
Yeah.
Future outlook looking rosy. So I hope that's the way that it goes, but I can see a world where that happens.
Zach, would you have ever imagined if somebody said to you on grand final night 2005 that the West Tigers in the next 20 years is only going to make the finals two more times? Would you have comprehended that?
No, I wouldn't have comprehended much on that night. I don't remember much from that night after the game, obviously, but yeah, it it goes without saying that clearly, the history of this club, all the way up to, including and past '05, has been really, really, really underperforming, to put it lightly, and um, unbelievably so. We all know where we sit, and I think that's where we can find. Well, I think that's why when we're seeing small wins, and we're seeing 11th as our position from where we've been, all these sorts of things, I think we're a fan base that is quite emotionally present. So we do ride all of those emotions, and I think that the lack of success over the years is a big reason that we do cling on to a lot of hope, and we sort of have to be optimistic out of survival mode sometimes, I think.
Hey, Zach, if someone had have said to me at the end of the 2011 season that you're not going to make finals for the next 14 years, I reckon I would have put my hand up to go into a voluntary coma, to be honest.
Oh,
I think I would
yeah.
have enjoyed it a bit more than, going through the misery that we've all been through. It's just been
Mm.
so hard and tiring.
Jordan, Jordan, the longer it goes on, I have often I've spoken about this before on the pod, like the worry that you become more anxious about it the longer it goes without making the finals. Like if we don't do it next year, it's 15 years. Like that's a huge weight around our neck that we've got to sort of break. But next year's got to be the year, surely. Like this is the opportunity, right? Because we're so close.
We are, and I know the hard part is with all Tigers fans is we all have PTSD when it comes to this. I blame the fact that the 2012 year we were actually premiership favourites,
Mm.
and we haven't made finals since. But it's got to turn at some point. Like for me, especially, I think it was the second wooden spoon. It was genuinely the first time that I actually considered myself not renewing my membership. I was so disinterested with the club, with what was going on, with rugby league in general, and I genuinely left that season, that last game of that season, just going, you know what, I'm going to give myself a break for my own mentality. Um, and as I expected, and as my wife even knew, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Sucker for punishment. I came back again, but it was also for me because we've all been through that pain. We've all been through the disappointment and missing out on the finals. But I also want to be at that point where when we do, I can stand there along with so many other loyal fans and go, you know what? We stuck it out.
Yeah.
We were there. I'm sure there'll be tears from many fans when we finally know that we've made it. I believe this is probably the biggest opportunity that we have. Like, I've got a daughter that turns 15 this year, and she has never seen her team
Mm.
play finals football.
Mm.
And I want that to change. I want that to change more than anything. And I believe that next year there is a real red hot crack bar the footy gods cursing us with a injury plagued kind of season.
Yeah.
I think we have a real opportunity to do it next year, and I'm excited to see what 2026 really is.
I tapped the underneath of the desk when you spoke about the footy gods and injuries and that sort of thing, because, yeah, we've seen that in the past where it seems like bad luck is on our side. Let's have a look at the one word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum. Peter A. went with highs and lows. And boy, isn't that right? That was a game of highs and lows. Jedi Tigers word was deflating. Tigersman word was deflating and also so close and yet so far. Tiger Stew, positive, saying remain positive. The trend of growth and improvement was still there. Tiger 5150 also went with positive. For about 60 minutes, we played the best football we've played in 10 to 15 years. Teddy S's word was, oh, well, he didn't actually give us a word. He said it starts with F and ends with D. So I'm presuming that might be food, maybe, or yeah, I'm not sure. Also went
Fraud.
with, yeah, FUD. Also bipolar, saying this game, the game and this club is bipolar. Dirty Red's word was pain. Only the Tigers could lift us up and drive a dagger into our collective hearts. Tiger Town SFS's word was no words. London Tigers' word was roller coaster. The peaks and troughs in the game mirror our season. Mike's word was woeful, particularly that right edge defence. And on the Richo meter, poor. Snake's word was roster. That's the problem in a nutshell. Mac Tiger's word was hope. I had too much of it. Nat Mac 78 said mistakes. We can just never defend them. Seek and Destroy's word was devastated. 1 minute on top of the world. Next, I feel like my dog has died. And LFC Tigers' word was signs of growth and hope, but not quite there yet. But in saying all of that, Zach, you take the best team in the competition and you take one of their halves out after 20 minutes, the
Yeah.
chances are they're going to struggle. How much was the loss of Dewey a factor?
It was entirely a factor. The game goes a completely different way if Dewey doesn't get knocked out. It doesn't mean to say we win. Cowboys may have won by more, but it's kind of hard to argue that one of the form players of the comp, our main steering wheel in the new format that we've just created and started to see success of in the last couple of weeks, gets pulled out of the game early. And I haven't heard an update yet actually on AD. So fingers crossed that.
It was confirmed this afternoon he's got several
Okay.
facial fractures and he's going in for surgery once swelling's down.
Well, it goes without saying that Godspeed, and hopefully comes out of that okay. I'm sure he will. Uh, to Latu's credit, I thought he actually played, a moment or two, but I thought Latu stepped in,
Mm.
played bigger minutes than what he has been in recent times, and I thought he looked quite good at halfback. Better than the Latu from, again, a month or two back that we thought was, maybe struggling with the length of the season or playing his role. So credit there. But yeah, look, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned, an injury like that to a major playmaker, particularly a half, so early in a match like that, it's a multiverse situation. The game can go in an entirely different route, and so much of our attack, especially recently, has come off the back or through or via Dewey, and
Mm.
who knows what could have happened.
It's a massive shame, isn't it? Because AD, as we know, has been playing really, really good footy for at least the last month. But
Mm,
I mean, we're in a pretty good situation to have someone like Lazu on the bench. He's only young, but yesterday's the first I've actually really seen of his kicking game.
mm,
I don't think he really did too many long kicks for touch, but he put up a lot of really good bombs that were contestable. And that's probably the first I've actually seen him get boot the ball, for a decent part of the game too. So I love the way he plays. He's so quick and aggressive with the way that he runs, and I know that's what he was trying to do when he dropped that ball, which
Mm.
unfortunately led to the first of the last three tries. But yeah, he's got a big future there too. Yeah, just real shame for AD. I really do hope that he rests up and recovers well. He's got the whole off season to get right. So yeah,
Yeah.
all the best to him.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, Latu Fainu looked better because he wasn't just distributing. I think he looks his weakest when he's just distributing. He's a running player. He needs to run, and he ran a few times yesterday. Unfortunately, as you say, Nick, one costly error for sure, but that's what I want to see from him. I want to ask Jordan his opinion on the halves for next year. Are you somebody who believes that Latu could be a starting halfback? Do you think someone like Madden will come in? Do you think Dewey's got the position to lose? How do you think that'll play out?
I was actually just thinking that when Zach was mentioning about Dewey and the structure and how we've been playing the last month or so with him at halfback, I really don't know if he actually goes into round one of 2026 as our halfback. I he has played very well. I know I've been a Dewey critic in the past. He has stepped up. He has played very, very well. I was disappointed when he got knocked out yesterday, and I hope he recovers well. But the one difference that I like with Latu in comparison to Dewey is how direct and how much Latu actually straightens up our attack. There are times that we're too lateral, we go too sideways. Luai, if he doesn't see an option, does his skip and a hop and, tries to run into the tackle. The one thing that I like about Latu is he is very much the half that will take on that line and wear the shot to straighten them up and, bring in defenders. It'll be really intriguing to see over the preseason exactly where they fit. I genuinely believe it's going to be a Latu Luai halves combination next year. We're probably Dewey at 13, give him a chance to bulk up a little bit and work on his. Although his defense has been actually really, really
Yeah.
good. I've actually been a real fan of his defense. But yeah, give Dewey a chance to bulk up and learn that role a bit more as a ball playing 13. And I think we can actually be really, really dangerous with a spine of, Dewey at 13, Latu and that in the halves with Appy and Buller out the back.
Mm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year in regards to all that. We spoke about the Cowboys' strategy. We've spoken about losing Dewey. But I thought, Zach, that our bench was really poor. I thought we didn't have a lot of impact off the bench. Royce Hunt seemed to get injured. Charlie Murray didn't bring a lot. He tries hard. Same with Suka. But at the moment, they're not bringing much oomph off the bench. And I think that's where we suffered.
No, I think it's pretty slim pickings at the moment. We commented as such last week, and I think if we weren't coming off a relatively good form guide, I dare say that Benji may have been inclined to play around with it a little bit. But off the back of the Bulldogs and then the Manly wins, it's a little hard to change this side. Um, Being there live at the game, I barely noticed anyone bar Royce for a couple of runs. Watching it back, I- I'm lo I'm loath to compliment Charlie Murray, but only in that I don't particularly see him as the standard that we are after. But I thought he was sharp for what I've probably as sharp as I've seen him as a compliment, and he definitely works hard and he hustles hard. Suka, again, I think that he's a bit of a placeholder, although I like Tony's work. Yeah, mate, you mentioned earlier about, as this squad is coming together and looking like there's only a couple of pieces of the puzzle left. I think that the makeup of and the makeup, the personnel on our bench is definitely something that, one, we do have options heading into next year, depending on how the chips fall. But two, we do need to get that right because I think I may have mentioned it on last week's show. It seems like some games we're going in playing with 15, 16 men,
Yeah.
for better or worse. And I think we can use those resources a lot better, but we do need to fill out the squad in order to do that.
There wasn't much impact from the bench, was there? Like Royce is your impact forward, but I'm looking at the West Tigers website, 19 minutes,
Mm.
so not long. And he hasn't played many minutes either, Royce. Charlie Murray played 29 minutes. That's a fair bit of footy. Same with Sukker as well, 32 minutes. So, but yeah, what I did notice, and I know we've all spoken about it over multiple pods, is just no impact off that bench. Charlie Murray tried, and I watched him a bit during the replay and the highlights. He tried hard, but he hits the line and just gets dragged down. Was dominated under physicality, Joel. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, definitely a part of the side that we need to strengthen 100%.
Just with Tony Suka, like I actually like a lot of what I've seen him here in reserve grade, but for me it's the fundamentals. He did it against Manly. There was one I can remember against the Roosters as well, and he did it again yesterday, where they play that short ball for that sort of that back row run. He just has his hands by his side. Like it's stuff that you teach
Mm.
kids. And it was that, and he did it yesterday against the Cowboys with a lost ball, where he is literally he's running with his hands laterally against his body, and by the time he gets that pass thrown to him, he's getting his hands up. It's just too late,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's those. But he does. He's good first contact. I like him in his defense, but attack wise, he's still got a lot of development to do. I think again, yeah, he is a placeholder with Kai Pearce-Paul and Maverick Geyer and stuff. I think he might fall down the pecking order next year.
Yeah, yeah, you can kind of see that happening because we've certainly targeted the back row when it comes to buying players for next year. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a factor. The off season, Taylor May. I know we wrap him every week, and we've already spoken about him, but a proper off season with the club, Zach. Taylor May, theoretically, you could go to a whole nother level next year. I think he's up there. I know this is really early with one of the best centres the club's ever had.
Look, on performances alone and what we've got in the short period of time that we've had him, his output in that time, it's hard to argue. I'd have to go back and look at his stats, but over the weekend alone, we're talking multiple line breaks, tackle breaks up around 9 again, and we're getting it every week. What I love about Taylor, Joel, is that, and we've mentioned it, the boys mentioned it earlier, he's a both sides of the ball player.
Mm.
His defensive stats, I was looking earlier today, don't read overly well, but he is a centre with, defensive decisions and decision making and ability to cover on the sweep are often more important necessarily or generally than the missed tackle count, but just his intensity in defence. He's a threat, and that's what I like about having Taylor on that left side. Is that we've spoken about this before too. He's opening multiple threats, and we're starting to see how and where he can be used in and around the players either side of him, and the option he can give the half on that side. So, yeah, we've I've said this too. We fell backwards into Terrell, and we've been able to fall backwards into Taylor. Very very exciting, and Macassini's going to have to. I'm sorry to bring him up again, just because everybody seems to be at the moment. He may have to find a different position than left centre because the way Taylor May's playing, you don't move him for anybody
Mm.
at the moment.
Yeah,
But
sorry, Glenn.
you'd have to think with what Benji said in the press conference the other week, you'd have to think that it's going to be Taylor who moves because he doesn't want to play Macassini on the right. Like they played him there in one New South Wales Cup game,
Mm.
and then they moved him over to the left.
Mm.
His right arm fend is
Mm.
his weapon. Like he has got that strength.
Right.
I think you might find that in the preseason it's going to be that Taylor moves to the right for Macassini to fill the left.
Maybe Macassini needs to do some more left arm chest presses just to bulk up a bit on the other side. Well, what I will say though, Taylor's second try that he scored, where he played the ball after being tackled, threw it, or dummy half throw, I can't remember who it was, might have been Taruva, threw it into Jerome. And for Jerome to shift it back to Taylor, and Taylor did really well to get back on side. Like most players, when they're tackled in that situation, would just, play the ball and be pretty much dead to the play. But he jumped back really quickly, and that was such a good try. That was great insight or foresight by Jerome, and great instincts by Taylor. He's brilliant, Taylor, mate. Really good.
And Sam Fainu was the link man in between.
Fainu.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. What I noticed about Taylor is he's a very disciplined player. Like he doesn't let a 1%er go by. So to your point, Nick, he's pushing back after that ruck, just in case there's a blindside play. And I've noticed a similar thing in a few instances. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you do often see him covering for others' mistakes, making up for his own, and just being an option or available on the off chance that it's there. We saw it in that absolute belter of a try that the boys scored. He was the opposite side of the field. He didn't need to push up, but again, he was there to receive that ball from Romeo. So, just he's an out and out competitor, and not the type, maybe like a Pole at the moment, who tends to maybe get complacent at times.
So talking about 1%ers and professionalism, I don't know if you've noticed, and it took me probably 4 or 5 replays of that try just before halftime to pick it up. I saw it this evening before we jumped onto the pod. I was watching the highlights. You watched that try. So the last tackle before the Cowboys spill the ball, Brent Naden makes the tackle. It was a really good tackle in cover defense. Cowboys spill it. Samuel picks it up. They make a bust. You watch that play. It shifts left to Taylor May. Brent Naden in the background just kind of sits back and watches it all unfold. At one point, he's 40 or 50 meters behind the play. Now, when it shifts left from that Taylor May flick and goes back into Taruva, Bull is pushing up the middle. So he's that instinctive player. Naden is nowhere to be seen. You only see Naden after Buller scores about 4 or 5 players jump on top, and he's the last one to come and join the celebrations. But those little things, like that's attention to detail.
Yeah.
You don't see players like that at Melbourne Storm, because Craig Bellamy would be right up Brent Naden for something like that. Like, to me, when I didn't pick it up during the game, but I saw it in the highlights, and that just made me a little bit peed off, to be honest.
And Nick, I reckon that is exactly the secret sauce that we're missing. I think we still have too many players that do that stuff, and it's the Alex Seafasts of the world at times, although he's a big effort player. But the Poles that we mentioned, the Brent Nadens, the players that just switch off in moments, and either these players are on the way out, as it seems as though Naden might be, or we need to coach that out of them as best we can, because I think, it's on the money. I think that's where we are losing these little pinpoint moments in games. Teams, I don't care Scott Drinkwater or not, you don't score 3 tries in 5 minutes if everybody is on with their job at that point in the game. And lo and behold, who missed the tackle on Scotty was Brent. So, so one way or another, I think this team will see exponential improvements in on-field performance if we can either identify those that still have that in their game and coach it out of them, or work to shuffle them out the back door. That possibly might be a reason that we've seen a couple of exits in recent times, and I at least hope that that's something that they have their radar on.
Jordan, I think what the boys are describing is Naden is a rocks or diamonds player, and one second you get a diamond, and the next second you get a rock. Like, is Naden someone that you'd keep? Like, and we're saying all this, but he keeps getting the shot. He keeps getting called up. I mean, Benji's obviously a fan, but I just don't trust him.
On a New South Wales contract, yeah, he does have value. He is very rocks and diamonds. Like, Nick's got a good point about pushing up on the play on that try, but then he's also, pushing up and contesting that try that he scores. He competes and scores that try, and he looked like the only person likely to score in that situation.
We're losing Jordan.
It's hard. Say again, sorry?
No, we lost you for a little bit there. You're back now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's got those moments that he can be absolutely brilliant, and then he's got those moments where he can just have that brain snap. Like I didn't forgive him for last year for that tackle on the ground that he got
Yep.
sinned in for.
Yep.
That was just irresponsible and reckless. But yeah, as a depth player, he has some value. But as far as I'm concerned, especially with his age, I didn't realize he was that close to 30. Um, I think there is much better options out there than keeping him on a top 30 deal. If you get him on New South Wales contract, sure, but not a top 30 deal.
I completely agree, Jordan. That try that he did score that you mentioned, that was brilliant. And his ability to snatch that ball away from, I can't remember who it was, the Cowboys player, it might have been Drinkwater.
Yeah.
And maintain control and score that try that was great. That was Brent Naden all over. But you can't pick and choose when you want to make those plays. Like you've got to do it all the time. When you're playing NRL, you've got to be on for 80 minutes.
100%.
You can't decide to sit out of, a play when half the team's making a break. You've got to be up there, in case you're required. So that's rocks and diamonds, isn't it?
And you know what? You think across the league, the better teams at the moment, they have so few of those players. I look to Melbourne and Nelson, for example.
Yeah.
Nelson is the quintessential rocks and diamonds player, and you know, in the last few seasons, he's been more out of Melbourne than he's been in for Melbourne, and a lot of that is around those types of he's that type of player, and I know there's fitness related things as well, but you're not seeing him front and center of Melbourne's pack every single week as that type of player, and I think you could look at the sides that are successful at the moment, and you don't tend to have too many of them, so.
No, that's right. Exactly. Or they're guys that get an opportunity. They get into the league, into the NRL, and then they're sort of found to be that sort of player, and typically they are too much of a risk. Like most teams, the good teams are fairly conservative. They don't have too many risky sort of players, and it's the teams that sort of have to not be quite so picky that often have those sorts of players. Zach, does Sunia Taruva have a target painted on his head? Because it seems every time he does one of his carries, he gets a whack in the head.
Yeah, I think it's his running style. And fortunately for Tito, I don't think there's ever much damage because he's relatively good at taking those bumps. But he actually gathers quite a few penalties out of it. And provided that he is looking after himself in that regard, they all often look relatively soft, but he's quite theatrical in how he does it without actually playing it up a little bit. So I'm not going to go so far as to say it's gamesmanship. I think it is his running style a bit as well. But I got to be honest, every second carry, it looks like he might earn us a head high penalty in the way he enters contact. And he's one of the bravest little buggers I've seen in the Tigers jersey for a long time. So I am not going to provide anything about Tito's backfield play other than to just say, keep doing what you're doing, sir, because you're killing it.
Yeah, yeah. Look, and you've got to give Skelton a rap as well. I thought as the years gone on, he's got safer and he's got better as it's gone on. Especially some of those carries out of yardage, which is what we bought him for, and it does bring up some questions about what the backs look like when you've got Stafford Toa available and Makasini and that type of thing. So we'll cross that bridge next year. What did we think of Buller's game, Nick? Very, very dangerous at times. I still want him to see him get a little bit more involved.
Well, when he's involved, we look even more dangerous, don't we? Yeah. He's a great finisher. He's got great ball skills. He knows how to follow a play, and when there's an opportunity, he's there. So he's doing what Naden doesn't, I suppose. But look, I thought Dream was better yesterday than he was the previous week. He's a quality player. So look, there's only 2 games left of the season. As long as we keep seeing the best of Dream the next couple of weeks, then I'll be happy. But yeah, he's quality. He's a player that you're going to base your attack around. So yeah. I love him. He's getting better too. He's gone to another level this year.
Jordan, do you think there's a way of injecting him a little bit more effectively in our red zone attack? Because that is still an area. I mean, if you take Taylor May out, like that's he's been our most dominant red zone sort of threat, but we're still struggling in that red zone at times. And I think sometimes maybe Buller could get a little bit more involved. We've seen it in the past, and it's been really effective.
Yeah, there's probably one other way we could get him involved, which is not necessarily getting him the ball, but using him as that decoy. There is plenty of opportunity where you can probably have him and Luai out on the same side, and you can give that perception that he's going to get the ball and play out the back of him or have him run through. But he does also have that running style and that ability just to get to the outside of a player.
Mm.
Putting him in between a second row and a center is probably where it's most dangerous. So we need to focus on that sort of kind of edge quarter area and attacking the outside the second row, and then you'll find that he'll get the ball to the center and you'll create an overlap quite quickly. Because most of our overlaps this year, when we have created them, he's been involved.
Mm.
And it's just his speed, even though I swear when he look even in broken play and open space, he still looks like he's only in half gear.
Have you seen a more balanced runner?
Mm.
When he made that break and he threw it inside for Romy's first try for West Tigers, which was amazing. Again, when you watch the replay of that from front on, you had Taylor to his left, Jerome to his right. Taylor's quick as well, but Taylor's bouncing up and down. His dreadlocks are bouncing, equally. Um, Jerome was just floating. His head was just so stable. He's the most graceful runner. I don't know if we've seen him in full flight, but he's an athlete. I love him.
Yeah, I saw that try he scored before he played in RL. He played with that try he scored for the Magpies, and
Mm.
you could see the class and the talent there. And he's consistently got better as a player, which comes back to a significant member of the spine moving forward. Canberra this week, Zach. What attitude do you think that the team will come with? There's nothing to play with. They're playing against a team that's on fire. How do you think that plays out?
I know how it historically plays out,
Mm.
and we seem to be coming up to yet another have we turned a corner moment, and
Yeah.
it's are we going to go quietly into the night, weak-willed and fall out the back end of the season poorly again, or are we going to take a tough loss? At a time of the season where our season is once again over, like you said, there's not much to play for against a red hot team away from home in the cold.
Mm.
And we're going to turn up. And I think it will once again provide us with a bit more of an insight as to what this squad is building mentality wise. It's a mighty assignment the way that Canberra are going. But this side can show that they can go with just about anybody when they turn up. I'm not going to project that we're going to win or anything, but how we turn up is going to tell us mentally, I think, with where we are on that rebuild plan.
I mean, rocks and diamonds, Jordan. The West Tigers' performance against the Raiders in the last few years, we've sometimes matched it with them. We've beaten them a couple of times, and other times they've completely blown us off the park. It's hard to know what's going to happen. Does it really matter? Is it important for the club to show up and have a good performance and contend with Canberra as much as possible?
100%. Every performance, even if we're out of finals calculations, is important. It's important to set you up for momentum for preseason. It's important to set you up for things that you can see that works and improve on. My biggest concern with this game this week is if we go into that game with Canberra with the bench that we have the last few weeks. Obviously, there'll be a change with Dewey now out, but we cannot go in there with that small of a bench. Canberra's forwards will just run us apart. So I don't know where the size is going to come from. I don't know if we give someone an opportunity. I'm not 100% sure, but we can't go in there with someone like Charlie Murray and Tony Suker as our forward options and Royce Hunt being the only impact player.
Yeah.
We have to find some size and a bit more intimidation. Otherwise, the moment we make those changes, they'll just roll through. But every game's important. We need to finish this year on a high.
I don't know when I look at who's available, though, Zach, as to what we can do to strengthen that bench up for this game.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Kit Lollies floating around. The extended squad in recent times. He's been better in Cup. Peter Tautau has been doing good things in Cup. He came out of Canberra earlier in the year.
Yep.
Maybe he's in line. I don't know. To Benji's point earlier about making debuts at the end, I don't see him as a long-term prospect. But he's certainly been playing quite well. Yeah, I agree with Jordan 100%. There has to be changes. You're coming up against one of the most dynamic packs in the league, and they hit hard, they run hard, they are intense, and if you don't match it, you're halfway out the back door.
Yeah.
Those, yeah, it's interesting too. because we're going to have to start that heavy middle with Toilet Lock, I would say, just to match, which then drags one of those props. He's already there, but drags him into that situation. And um, if we're looking at then a safe bet in, say, a Mason at 14, then that last three has to be size, and we're going to have to carry somebody to cover second row too. So we are skinny. Look, we are trying to build the squad into next year and beyond, and this is hopefully is a problem we won't have to the same degree next year. But we're not flush for options right now, that's for sure.
So looking at the side we ran out yesterday, the only way I can think of adding some impacts, and this is shuffling deck chairs, would be to start Tony Sooker in the second row and put Sione back in the bench and bring him on for impacts. Now, on the flip side, Sione played 68 minutes yesterday, which is pretty decent minutes.
Yeah.
So if you play him off the bench, he's going to be playing less, but you've got to look at whether he can provide that impact in shorter bursts, because Canberra's big and physical, so it's going to be the toughest challenge of the year, especially the way that they're playing. But you know what? It'd be so West Tigers for us to knock off Canberra and then lose to the Titans to finish our season.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, it could happen. Stranger things have happened. It could be a good time to, probably a stupid question, Jordan, but it could be a good time to play Canberra. I mean, their focus is not going to be on the West Tigers.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, they've got the top of the ladder to contend with. I haven't looked at it. I don't know how many points they're ahead of Melbourne, so I don't know if they've got the minor premiership sewn up or not. But they're only 2 points ahead of. Okay, so
And they're behind on differential too.
okay, so they still do have plenty to play for. I was kind of hoping it'd be a few more points and they might rest a few players. But yeah, it could be a good time to play them. The problem that with Canberra, like even when they look like they've been down and out in games, they've just had these block periods where they just stormed home and they just bash their opponent. And that is my biggest concern, is that we don't dwell well on teams that go out there and physically manhandle their opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed. It'd be great to see the club really show fans that they've turned the corner. But I think if you're playing a team that, like Canberra, that is in form and is the oil to our water in terms of physicality, and it's down there, like, it's going to be a big task. But we'll see what team is named on Tuesday afternoon and take it from there. The big announcement, $110 million in combined funding for Campbelltown and Leichhardt. We already knew that Leichhardt was getting the upgrades. I believe at the end of next season, Leichhardt will be out of action while the Northern Grandstand's done and new toilets and things like that. But Campbelltown is going to get an upgrade as well. It looks like funding primarily for the Western Grandstand to be extended out, and better changing rooms and things like that. Zach, I haven't spoken to you about this topic before, but there was the threat of leaving Campbelltown, and I think it would have been a great shame if the West Tigers weren't part of that community.
Yeah, there's a set on Richo, to be honest, because in that scenario, I know we're to the betterment of Campbelltown as an area, just as much as they are to us. But yeah, if there was some sort of a commitment there to move away as a result of not going the way we're after, that would have been, yeah, an almighty risk, to put it lightly, I think, given the growth of the area and the fact it's heartland. You don't pull out a heartland like that. You simply can't. Particularly in a joint venture that at the best of times, even to today, it can be shaky. So I love the commitment and the fact that the upgrades and refurb on top is awesome. But the commitment is big, I think. The 15 years, to say that we're down in the southwest for the next 15 years, that we're setting up shop. That's putting roots down, it's laying foundations, and it behooves them now off the back of that, I think, then to just continue upskilling and rolling out and building that junior program that in its fledgling state once again, and then the focus has been back there for a couple of years now, and Shannon doing good things down there. Grow it. Let's try and grow it. So,
if I can play sort of devil's advocate, though, Nick, even with 50 million, hey, I'd like it in my bank account. It's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's also, when you look at 300 million for Penrith, it's not going to significantly increase the capacity of the ground, nor is the upgrades at Leichhardt going to significantly upgrade. there's still going to be that limitation, which is a talking point that a lot of fans on the forum are talking about. In that, when or if we do become a really successful team, 20,000, 22,000, 20, even 25 might not be enough capacity.
Very true. We're not going to get a big shiny Allianz or a comeback like Para have got. But I guess the fact is we still will have two home grounds, which is different to, the large majority of clubs out there. So also I love the fact that, Leichhardt will always be a suburban ground, even when it does get renovated and we get a nice big new stand on the northern ends. Hopefully we can still see those big, beautiful trees behind the stand because that'd be a shame if they're blocked
They'll
out.
be
But
gone.
they'll be, oh, don't say that. Well,
Yeah.
that's Leichhardt, isn't it? I mean, the hill is
Yeah.
Leichhardt, but those trees
Mm.
are Leichhardt. Like I love nothing more. My daily commute to work is going past Leichhardt Oval and seeing those big, beautiful trees up on top of the hill there. But Leichhardt will always be a suburban ground. It's always going to have that magic. And I think we need to somehow create some magic at Campbelltown. And maybe
Mm.
that stadium or that sports ground renovation is what it needs. So, maybe we can dress up Campbelltown a little bit and maybe that will bring the success. Can only hope.
It's been an unhappy hunting ground for us, Jordan, Campbelltown, in recent years. Some of that just because of the way the team has gone, but we've got to get some magic out there, as Nick's saying.
Look, as a born and bred boy from Campbelltown, I grew up in Ambervale. I was, I've been out in the southwest basically my entire life. The one factor that you got to take into consideration as well, there is also $43 million for a centre of excellence
Yeah.
that is attached to Campbelltown as well. Now so that'll include the grandstand closest to the athletics field.
Mm.
So that 50 million isn't part of that. That's completely separate. Um, there's a lot of corporate dollars out in Campbelltown. There's a lot of businesses move out this way, especially your Smeaton Grange kind of area, all of that. So there's a lot of corporate opportunity, and that's the biggest thing. Richo was playing poker with four aces in his hand. He knows how important the Southwest is. He knows how important the Campbelltown area is. I would have loved a boutique stadium. It's the perfect place. There's plenty of space for ample parking. Leagues Club next door, train station right there. It's just unfortunate that due to government strongholds and whatnot, there's not a lot of tactical sense to throw money in the area, which is unfortunate. But with the money and everything going into the area, the club has definitely made its presence felt from a grassroots point as a coach in rugby league out in this area. They made club ambassadors for each of the junior clubs out here, which was great, having the players turn up on training nights and everything else. It's a buzz for all the kids. It was really getting disheartening and disappointing seeing how many kids in the area do not support the West Tigers. South Sydney were making a very big play in the area, which thankfully we seem to have subdued for the moment.
Yeah.
But the commitment of 7 to 8 games in the future after the development done, I couldn't applaud it more. I live literally 5 minutes down the road from Campbelltown Stadium, so that works great for me. But I think if they can really entrench themselves, you'll start to find as you drive into the southwest, as you go down the Hume Highway and you start getting off the exits, you'll see the billboards and the posters, and we could genuinely make this area a stronghold for the club. And I think once we do that, and you actually get the because there is a bit of a disconnect, there has been for a while.
Yeah.
I think if you really build that fan base here, you'll start to travel out to the games, and opposition fans will get to the point of going, like when you go to places like Newcastle and Canberra and even Penrith, you'll just feel different walking in there going, okay, we have no advantage here. This is a Tigers, a fortress, and that's what we need to create.
There could certainly be more visible presence of the West Tigers in the area. Like it's some sort of, as you say, banners and signs or something like that. It's a bit generic still when you go out there. It still feels a little bit neutral is probably the best way I'd put it. Not to say that Leichhardt is different in any way. I'm not comparing the two, but if you look at Penrith, it kind of it has a different feeling. Like the team seems to be part of the fabric, and we need to, I think, have that happen out at Campbelltown. Zach, you've got to give Richo a plug here. I mean, for what he's done in 2 years and where the club was 2 years ago, and well, it's not even 2 years, he's been with us for just over 18 months, to, in this climate, political climate to get that sort of funding. It's been a phenomenal effort, not just from Richo, but from the other people involved. But there's a lot of things that a couple of years ago we were talking about and wondering about that have just been done. He's just gone in and done them.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. We could sit here and make a list as long as our arm and still forget things. You look at the way that he's turned over the squad, the signings that he's brought in, the improvements that have come through on the field, the messaging out of the club, the social media that's coming out of the club and the media department
Yeah,
has just
yeah,
improved phenomenally. The funding that he's secured for both of their home grounds, like you said, inside of 2 years. These archaic relics of stadiums that are so close to the hearts of the club and fan base, um, and he secured the funds for it. Countless look, and at the same time, he's also gotten fitter. He's looking good. Goodness me,
yeah,
he's looking richer, mate. You must
yeah,
be on
yeah.
the man shakes champion because he's doing wonderfully. I
The
know.
stress is good for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know that there's been times, particularly this year, and probably most people would agree that around the Galvin situation, there was a couple of questions asked about
Mhm.
not so much the decision, or some of his decision making around the contract, but more so the messaging coming out of the club via his microphone. But look, in hindsight, even if we look back at that situation, look where we're sitting, and look where Galvin's sitting in that situation. Not to bring that up again, but
Yep.
even in the moments where, I may have doubted Richo and some of his decisions he's making, we look back and I feel foolish as a
Mm.
result of it. So if that's what he can do in under 2 years, I'm really looking forward to what he's going to be able to do over the next three and a half.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if we're sitting here this time next year talking about what it's going to be like playing in the finals, like then will all have come together, and it's really encouraging and it's really good to see. Just the last question on the jersey: do you on that '05 jersey, as I think Zach said earlier, it still looked fresh and contemporary. Should we be incorporating that design a little bit more into our look? I think it works, Nick. That design.
It does, and I do like the jersey. But Joel, you talking earlier about we need to move
I
away
know,
from
but
the 2005 Premiership, so maybe we
yeah,
need to go with something completely different.
completely different. Okay.
Oh, look, I love the chevron. I love the V's.
Yeah.
Bit of a traditionalist, so I've got no issue wearing that for a one-off every now and then. But
Mm.
no, let's leave 2005.
Let's leave it
Yeah,
behind.
yeah, let's leave it for now.
Alrighty. And last question: try was that the try of the year for the West Tigers and in the NRL? You reckon? What do we think?
It certainly got me excited. I've watched it 5 or 6 times, as I said.
Yeah.
So it was
I,
a
I
cracker, wasn't
can't.
it?
Yeah, I can't think of it. I was running through it. Someone actually asked that question earlier. I was running through because I watch a lot of the footy throughout the year. I can't think of anything close.
Yeah.
I've got to
And
say, watching it live,
Oh,
Oh, it was
there was
incredible.
a lot of excitement and whatnot, and we were all going ballistic, but I didn't appreciate it until I went and watched it back on camera.
yeah.
And I'm the same. My bean counter is up to 4,000. For those who are on Instagram, I've got to mention NRL on 9, I think it was. They did a particular person on person where they tracked the ball
Right.
from
Yeah.
behind the
Yeah.
goalpost,
Yep.
and they put it together to some slow-mo music. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
Every Tigers fan, if you want a bit of catharsis or a way to get past last night, go on and watch that video because it's exceptional. What a try.
And the
What
irony of it coming against the Cowboys, that was the weird part about it in the game that celebrated, the 20-year anniversary. It was a memorable moment. Yeah, quite incredible. All right,
and
guys.
Joel,
Yep.
just
Sorry.
quickly, when
Yep.
we got up 28-16, I was thinking all we need is a penalty goal to win 30-16.
Yes,
That was the
exactly.
2005 score. It didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Someone
Yep.
also mentioned that apparently the timing of the game was actually very, very close to the same time that Benji flicked it to Pat Richards.
can't be
Okay.
right.
Just before half time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's
That's
right.
true. Yeah, yeah. Because I'd actually written in my notes 3 to go. A few decisions are going the Cowboys' way. We've got to hold them out. And the next thing that happens. Yeah. So it was just before halftime. So, yeah. Yeah. I'm glad the '05 result went the way that it did. Really, really glad. Forever grateful. But it would have been nice if we could have won that game yesterday.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, boys. Good job.
No worries. Thanks,
Thanks very
mate.
much.
Thanks, boys.
All right.